What's up, family? Before we get into today's episode, I would love if you can take a quick second to subscribe to this channel, and thank you all for your continued support to this channel. Now, let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to another
Mm.
episode of Weapon Price Show where we inspire the masses to become financial free while building gospel. On the show today, we have Mr. Oludotun Oyebolu, also known as Dot Oyebolu. Mr. Dotun is a marketing consultant and the host of the Marketing Leadership Podcast. He's also the founder and CEO of Ferdinand Technology, and he also manages another business called Two Split. In this episode, we're going to talk about Mr. Dotun's entrepreneurship and success he has had so far. So thank you for being here, Mr. Dotun.
Pleasure, Damilola. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much. It's been a while. I know we had some contact about a year ago, and I'm really happy that we are doing this.
It's a pleasure. How are you doing today?
I'm based out here in Calgary. Calgary is sunny most times of the year. The weather is a little bit not that hot. We've come out of what I would call a very strong heat wave, and yeah, it's been a very, very busy week. And I'm happy to say that it's been a very, very busy week in God's presence, whether during services or just having seminars with children of God. So the last 48 hours has been busy but fun in the presence of the Lord, and I'm happy to do this again in the presence of the Lord.
Amen, amen. It's a pleasure to have you. To get this conversation started, I want to ask, how did you get started in entrepreneurship?
That's a good question. I think one of the biggest lessons for me when it comes to starting my entrepreneurship journey is, and I think it's something that might be useful to listeners here, the power of instruction. And I want to put it in a very spiritual context. I do, by the grace of God, consider myself a man of vision. My mom found this goal, this gift when I was very small, being able to see, the moon and the stars and the wheats like Joseph did back in the day, and that really helped me in terms of charting my own destiny. If you see anyone who is trying to chart their own destiny without much help at a very young age, they might have a bit of an entrepreneurial angle to what their life might become at the end of the day. And so I've always had that, even though I'm very melancholic, but I've always had that very confident, independent mindset to, again, charting my destiny and helping the world in my own way. I consider myself a man of three passions: marketing, music, and history. In terms of the other two, history and marketing, it's not very active at this point, but I know they will come into my life where I will give that my full attention. But right now, I've been a successful marketer for 13 years with experiences from small businesses to enterprise, worked with hundreds of businesses at this point. But it all started back when I was young, and I had the flair for computers. In the early 90s, when I was exposed to computers, I really loved that concept. And even though my parents had other ideas, I, decided to through that course. And not to bore us with the details of that, I studied computer science in university, and in my third or fourth year, I ventured into what is now digital marketing. Back then, it used to be called new media in exactly 2010. And since then, I have done a lot of moonlighting. I've worked full time for companies. In 2018, I restarted my agency, Free Air Technologies, which is just like a small shop. We had about 7 people at that time, and we ran that from 2018 to about 2021, when I took the company to a sole proprietorship. So now I consider myself a fractional marketer. So fractional marketers, work for different companies, for different jobs, and I've also had the privilege to speak to big marketers around the world through my podcast, the Marketing Leadership Podcast. So a lot of water under the bridge throughout all that I've said, but I don't want us to take our time.
Not a problem. Thank you for breaking it down. And I want to ask, was there anything, you saw what you was a man of vision from a young age. Um, and I guess what about having vision makes make an entrepreneur successful? Why is it important for an entrepreneur to have vision?
The basis of entrepreneurship basically is helping to solve the world's problems. So the elements of a vision definitely is helping to solve the world's problems. And if I want to put it publicly, we need to know that aside from the dreams that Joseph had about his brothers and his family, he had dreams about Egypt, where he was. There will be 7 years of plenty, and there will be 7 years of famine. And that was a business vision, if you want to look at it that way. You can look at that in your space, wherever you're listening to, and say, there is 7 years of plenty in this industry where I'm passionate about, or where I guess my gifting is, and there will be years of plenty of famine in that. And how do I want to help when that famine comes, right? And then by doing that, you are able to provide your solutions to the market, deliver product market fit, and more importantly, because you are a child of God, act in the best interest of your customer as much as possible.
Thank you for that. And the next thing I want to kind of talk, what you kind of mentioned briefly is, what is Fernet technology and what inspired you to, grow it to a team to now where you're like the only person now? Like, what makes you it made you change your vision in regards to that company?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think sometime in 2021, a lot of our team members were charting their own course in terms of like their own career, and these were teams made of families and friends who never knew anything about marketing. I was able to help them get through that, and now they are charting their own course, either from a marketing or a non-marketing lens, and developing themselves. And at the same time, was starting to consider a personal branding myself. At that point, it was about 11 years in the marketing space. I mean, it's not enough to consider yourself an expert, but I just felt from a representation perspective, I want to be that. There are many marketing voices out there, but there are not many marketing voices globally of African descent, of Nigerian descent. And looking at like me being a Nigerian and with a Nigerian accent and Nigerian everything, I thought that would be an opportunity to see a different perspective. And I also have a bit of a creative side to marketing that many people don't talk about. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to explore that and, build my personal branding and see how it works. I mean, to today, the team is still part of me because I do a lot of subcontracts. When you build a personal brand, you can't do everything yourself. You have someone that will help you with other kinds of content and the podcast and things like that. So I still engage a good number of people from that team back then from time to time. But I must tell you, it's been a great experience for me in this personal branding journey, and the journey is still very far. You are always posting every day about marketing, showing people unique sides of marketing, and like I said, as Christians, showing things that are not we are not talking about marketing just for the likes or the comments. We are showing it just to really provide value to marketers as they need it. And I also attend workshops, facilitate events. Those are things that I love to continue doing. And for as long as it takes, I guess I'm taking from my mother who loves to teach, and see how it goes in the next decade. I'm still very open to what God wants me to do. But for right now, I think I have a lot of fulfillment with, growing the brand, teaching others, and also doing fractional work for companies as an independent consultant.
That's wonderful. But one thing that kind of stuck out to me is that you mentioned how fitness technology was with the people that he was working with were family, friends. And I want to ask, once you start to realize that everyone was starting to branch out to do their own thing outside the company, how did you as a CEO, look at it and without, because oftentimes when you hear companies, or look into company when they, people are under them, under the CEOs, under the C suite, starting to branch out, there's always like this conflict. So how were you able to not avoid a conflict if there was or resolve the conflict if there was, and still encourage them to go forward in their own pursuit?
What's important in business, at least from my own perspective, is you need to have a team that has, um, I guess, a great mindset. And I'm not saying you need to hire a team that, it's completely people of faith. If you're able to do so, by all means. But I often believe that the Lord allows the rain to fall on everybody, whether they are Gentiles or not. But at the end of the day, the mindset is very important for me. And the mindset consists of a couple of things. There might be more, but one of them include your work ethic. You must have a very strong work ethic. You must have a flexibility where whatever job you are involved in, whether if it's a short-term or long-term job, you are loyal to that job. Like you are not doing the work because they are paying you a huge salary. You are doing the work because you're helping the world. Basically, it doesn't matter what trade it is. I am a marketing specialist. That's what I know. But regardless of what you're doing, the Bible says, whatever your hands find it to do it well. Okay. And I would say, even though those guys at the beginning were not as skilled, they were willing to learn and they were willing to give in their all, for our clients at that time. But even with that and with all that, loyalty, there should be a sense of flexibility, because there is the company vision and there is uh, the individual vision for the employees. So openness is also very key. I think if employees are open enough with their entrepreneurs, their bosses, their founders, it also helps a lot. Hopefully, the bosses also have an open door policy. But a lot has been changing, Dami. A lot has changed. Now we have 20-hour work weeks, 4-day work weeks. Work-life balance is becoming a thing. People are more productive working from home. Life has really become very, very flexible for people around the world to be able to do their best job, wherever they are at that time. So, I mean, what I'm saying now might sound a little bit naive, but I'm even up until today, I'm still fortunate to work with, even whether it's on a full-time or fractional basis, work with brands whose leaders also share the same vision. As long as your involvement at that time, you are giving it the best that you're supposed to give it. You are doing your work. You are giving above and beyond. You are being gracious as you do it. That's something great about me, to the glory of God, is that no matter how intense I am with work, I'm always doing it with grace. And that is what the Spirit of God also allows us to do. Because we live in a world where people are living from paycheck to paycheck, and people are hypocritical, people are riding on each other to get to the top. A lot of things are happening. But as children of God, whether you are a leader, business leader, or you are an employee, a leader at heart, you should be able to, give Caesar to what is Caesar, do the best that you want to do at that time, whilst leaving some flexibility and also be open to communicate.
No, I 100% agree with your with that thought. Because nowadays, I wouldn't say nowadays, but humans in general are not just one dimension. We have a lot of different things that we're interested in. One person can be interested in sports, finance, and some politics. And I feel like especially in this day and age, people are starting to realize that it's starting to become more of a thing that's talked about. So you have things as 4-hour work days, 20-hour days, 20-hour work days, because sometimes people are not going to be doing that same career for the next 10 years. You have seen, and you have all have seen different. you can start off with something and start another thing next 5 years. A perfect example of that is Elon Musk. You look at his story from PayPal to Tesla, Tesla to SpaceX, from SpaceX to Twitter, and the list goes on with different things. So it's important as as leaders, people in business, as even as Christians, not to put anyone in a box. And I appreciate you mentioned that. And I want to ask, one more thing in regards to this venture. I can imagine there was some challenges working with family and friends. If you could like talk about the challenges you had working with family and friends, or what's some boundaries you put in place to avoid the challenges, and what did you learn from them as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's important to whether they're related or not. It's a friendly environment these days. Let's get along, as they would say. It's important to, I guess, set the ground rules at first. You don't just assume that everything's going to be okay. Yeah, no issues with um, no issues with work ethics and things like that. But before you start, you need to know one thing, and this is what I say. Very simple. We might be familiar, but our clients don't care.
Mm.
Our clients don't know that we are familiar. They know us as employees. Our clients don't care about the dynamics within the agency. They only care about the work that needs to be done. And so, if you are about to introduce nepotism or into the whole system or into your work, then remember that the clients don't care really. So when they think about it like that, then they're supposed to do their work properly. And that happens everywhere as well. Like if I need a service or something, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you won millions of awards in best place to work or whatever it is. I just want my stuff done. I want my service delivered. You're probably charging me premium for it. I'll probably pay that. So when leaders show that, then everybody also just sort of falls in line. But at the same time, I will not say you should avoid being gracious, whether as an employee or as a leader. I think being gracious is very important. We are all very busy. Life is hard. A lot of things are happening. You open the news, you're just so discouraged about everything. I think we need a lot of positivity. But as a leader, I would admit that it's important to create a balance because people tend to get very comfortable very quickly and they forget what you told them the first time. So, whilst you are extending, it's a bit of a carrot and I don't want to use a stick, maybe carrot and wood. Well, stick and wood are the same thing. Maybe carrot and plastic, okay? With the carrot, you are extending as much grace and love to your colleagues, whether at the top or the bottom of the chain as possible. But even with the plastic, you are talking about the job. Where are we with this? How are we going? Are we done? What's left? We shouldn't make this mistake. This needs to be done great. And when people do great, appreciate them. Always be the one to be at the back, back of at the behind the scenes. Always appreciate people when they do good work outside and criticize them inside when they do bad work. But don't forget to criticize them because if you do, they will assume everything is okay, right? Something else I personally do with colleagues where I work in different areas is if I feel the need to extend love to them through maybe, I've had cases where I had to send people money for bereavement. I had to extend some love to people based on their marriage. Many companies nowadays, all they do is, oh, congratulations, you are getting married. Maybe the company sends you a card or they send you something. But if you are a boss to a particular person, in employee, go beyond and above. You will only get married a few times in your life. You lose a special family member. Yes, it's true. You lose a special family member a few times in your life. Extend some love to them. You will be shocked as how much love can break melt somebody's heart. Like I did this for a lady. I sent her just $200. She lost her father, and I sent her money. And she's a colleague, and she said nobody has ever done this for her. Like that is a colleague, and out of 80 people in the company, and she was giving appreciation to everybody, I was part of the people she gave appreciation to. Yes, I didn't do that because of the appreciation, but I did. The reason why I actually did that, not just because I care about her as a colleague who just lost his father and knowing that I still have my own father, is that whenever I give her a job to do, she will drop everything else and do mine, right? Because she knows that, this person cares about the company and he also cares about her as well. I'm not saying you buy your way to making people do what you need to do. I mean, in some cases, some people do it, but the the point is that just be gracious and care and just care about people. And at the same time, let them know that customers customers don't really care who is behind the brand. The brand has to just deliver. And if you're able to forge that balance, which I think I have done, you have a very, I guess, peaceful career.
I definitely appreciate, while you were saying that, it kind of reminds me of this entrepreneur that I follow, very close to social media. One thing that he said that sticks with me, he said you have to serve your way to success. And kind of similar to what you're saying, because, when you're showing love, it's just serving other people. When you put that love in first, and you don't you actually look out for people. You actually, want the best for the company. As a result, success will follow. Follow that you're serving people and you meet them at their need, they will also want to meet you at your need. And it's just great. That's very, it's a biblical principle, but you see so many people apply it in so many different areas of their life. And as we talk,
Yeah. Just to even add to that, sorry to cut you there. Just to add to that, I don't know if you heard about the news recently of Taylor Swift
yeah,
giving all our staff members $100 million in different amounts. That's exactly what I'm saying. We Christians, we are easy to judge people that are famous as being people of faith or not people of faith. But that person applied the biblical principle, which is showing love, showing compassion. I tell you that if Taylor Swift calls any of those people at 3 a.m. in the night, they will pick the call without their spouses complaining about it.
yeah.
Because she changed their life for the better. She sacrificed 100 million, which is a huge amount of her net worth, to take care of those guys. So that it's big brands are doing it. And I think, every other person should do that as well.
Now you're 100% right. Two people just keep in mind that do it on a regular basis. Mr. B was a well-known YouTuber. He always give
Yeah,
his
I'm addicted to Mr. Beast.
yeah, I love his content. And when you look at the reason why he's becoming more successful, yes, the content is getting better, but the people that he's serving, how he's taking care of people, even though as we tend to say, this world is very cold and we want to be by ourselves, we still are addicted. We still Everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants to be noticed. And the fact that, despite all his success, he's still able to notice his different employees, or The Rock recently, who was able to buy a house for this UFC fighter, all these different things, it just
Yeah,
allows.
I saw that too, The Rock.
Yeah, so it just shows that, love, like, you want to be successful, lead with love. If you want to be great, lead with love. You look at anybody in the Bible or even outside the Bible, they all led with love, and as a result, they became more successful. And being that said, I want to kind of turn shift the conversation a little bit, and to talking about, what made you want to start this personal brand, that you mentioned, want to
Mm.
that role model that you did not see in this space.
I gave an appreciation, to especially with my career because it also reflects 30 years of my career to people like, Ewenchia. Ewenchia used to be, I think it's based in either China or Hong Kong or Singapore. But in the early days, he was one of those guys in the early 2000s, was one of those guys that really propagated what we now know as new media. And then we have, guys like Mark Stesner of Social Media Examiner, who has interviewed every major influencer in the world about digital marketing. And he has this very great podcast with this very great events and things like that millions of people around the world do follow. And I think what's also very important, whether it's in entrepreneurship or just you being a professional, is mentorship. And don't, when you're talking about mentorship, always start from within. So your direct bosses. Every direct boss I've had has been a mentor to me. I still have a few of them that call in favors from time to time, and I often tell my wife, well, I guess I owe them because they've been great mentors, right from the year 2000. Guys like Daniel Emeka in Nigeria and folks like that, um, who have been direct mentors to me. Guys like Clark Johansson here in Canada, who have been direct mentors to me, and teaching me ways to do marketing the professional way. Because I usually come off as a very scrappy, very casual guy when I'm working, and let's just say those guys packaged me up towards the years and showed me things that I could learn that I haven't thought about before. So those were some of those few things that I think really, really helped out. But I learn a lot from different places. I learn a lot from different people. And at this point, I will consider myself my role model.
That's wonderful. But what led you to want to start your personal brand? What exactly from your experience and journey that
Yeah, I guess it's just God telling you to go for it. Honestly, I don't think I saw somebody and said I wanted to do this. I think that's why many people go for personal brands, because they see personal brands, they sell courses. I don't sell a course as of today. So I'm not in there necessarily for the money. Yes, the money can follow. You invite me to a spade picking engagement, I'll take your money. But from a knowledge, from a knowledge perspective, I don't personally, I don't see myself. I will put it this way: I will give you as much free information as possible, from a thought leader perspective, and that's different from many of the thought leaders out there. And so for me, I would just say it's just an instruction from God. There's always phases in my life where God just tells me to, this is what I need to do. And I just try to explore and go for it. The podcasting side of the thought leadership is a different thing. So I approached my boss at Content Allies, where I'm a director right now. And I was try again, your bosses are your mentor. And I was checking from him. His name is Jake Jogovan. And I was checking from him if I would, if what he thinks about me getting an MBA. And he said, why that is good, MBA is just like another academic exercise. By the time you are done with the MBA, whatever you are learning on that MBA is already expired, because it's just the way traditional education works. But if you're able to start a podcast where you can talk to people who are very much experienced than you, and they can give you their own ideas and concepts, and you can, just by having a conversation with them, you can learn from them. It's recorded in a podcast. You listen to your own podcast if you want to. You can repurpose that podcast into a book, for example. So I would advise you to do that, Dami. And so on and so forth. And I thought that's been a good idea. So far, I've interviewed nearly 60 guests, and I'm talking about the best marketers in the world. These are marketers that many people around the world already know. So, and that has been the case. I learned a lot from them. I've learned a lot from those conversations, more than what an MBA in marketing might be able to give me, because as you know, those guys are speaking from the real world, right?
yeah.
And so that was how the podcast bit happened. But I've always wanted to be a thought leader in the marketing space, since about 2017, 2018.
Wow, wow. Thank God for your obedience. I was kind of wanting to ask, how has your faith in Christ helped you through this journey? Whether it's through entrepreneurship, whether it's through your career, like, how has your faith in Christ helped you through this journey?
I guess it has provided me what I call the pillar of my own family, and that is the fruit of the Spirit. In Galatians chapter 5, verse 5. Um, you you are looking at a couple of course, we have those 9 fruits of the Spirit there, but one of the we've spoken a lot about kindness and goodness. But one of the other good things about the fruit of the Spirit is self-control. Okay. Self-control in the sense of when you become popular, are you humble enough at that point? And the truth is, from my experience interviewing a lot of these great guys, I think they are very humble. I think it takes a lot of grace to have 700,000 followers on LinkedIn and still want to join the interview of somebody who is just starting out. It takes a lot of grace, whether you're a Christian or otherwise. So that is great. There are some people that I met that are not as gracious. I met a lady and I was asking for her to be in my podcast, and she said no. And that's understandable, right? I spoke to other people like that who respectively said no, and they explained in detail why, even though they like what I'm doing, they can't really do it, which is good. And then I said, okay, can I at least be your LinkedIn connect? Can I connect with you on LinkedIn? And the person said, we have a criteria for connecting to people on LinkedIn. So that means they didn't see me as important. And it's very well understandable. I took that with grace. I knew that it wasn't going to be 100% smooth. Yeah, that was a bummer because I didn't expect that. The people that rejected still connected to me, even though they had more fans than this person that rejected. So everybody apparently is not as gracious as I can think. But being humble is very, very, very important. You must have a lot of joy, the second fruit of the spirit. You must have a lot of joy in you. Like I said, I have a lot of joy when I'm putting you under pressure, but I'm giving you joy in the process. That's how I work. It's a mix of pressure and joy. So you have no choice than to do it. And I'll make you feel very special in that pressure moment. But I am always a pressure guy. If anyone has worked with me, they will know that I'm very intense. And then I guess professional integrity is important. Professional integrity is important because it's not necessarily about you are stealing or anything like that. Sin has advanced way from that. It has advanced beyond the 10 Commandments. That's now gotten to what Jesus say about love your neighbor as yourself and love God with all your heart and soul. And there are many things that people do for ulterior motives. They are not doing it to provide real value. So it's important for us not to be in that space. Let us not work for working's sake. Let us not work out of self-interest. Let us not work for money. I will repeat, don't work for money. Success comes to those who are too busy to be looking for it. Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness. And that also includes fulfilling your purpose on earth. And all other things shall be added unto you, like money, wealth, and freedom. And this is how you will know that money is not important. All the big people that we see, that we look up to, that have billions of dollars, they are still working. If money was important to them, they would have stopped working. But the reason why they haven't stopped working is because money is not important to them. Even a good number of them are giving their money away. So money is not everything. You can ride the best cars in the world. You can have as many houses as you can. But when you are gone, you are gone. You don't know what's going to happen to those houses. You don't know what's going to happen to those cars. So it's important to seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, including fulfilling God's purpose on earth, and everything else shall follow. So those are some, it's not limited, but those are some of my, and I'm not perfect. I'm not saying that. It's just things that I've learned over 13 years. I hope it helps.
Now that definitely it definitely helped. The last thing you said, that we shouldn't hold money so tight because eventually we're all going to have to leave this world. It kind of reminds me of what you put, what Solomon says in Ecclesiastes. He says those that you expect not to eat from you, that you don't want to give them money right now. You don't want to help them right now. Once you're long gone, the fruit and labor that you work with, those who don't go after, and just to show you that you gotta look at this, we do things with grace. It's going to you can't hold everything so tight. You can't take things so personal. I'm glad you didn't take those no as personal because I know for sure they're gonna lead to doors or opportunities later down the line for you. And I want to ask,
I, just to add before you add yours, avoiding wastage is also something that is important. And if you're in whichever space you are, you will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of people they sit in the office pretending to be working. They are wasting the company's internet. They are wasting the company's electricity. They are not adding any value to the company's bottom line. And you are just, if you are not working, go home and take a break and rest. Maybe when you rest, you become more efficient psychologically. Avoid wastage. Always be efficient in your work. It's very biblical because if you waste, you are committing a sin. Sorry, you can go ahead.
No, that's 100. That's 100% correct. That's 100% correct. I do appreciate you sharing that. I want to ask this question in two ways. You've been doing marketing for almost 13 plus years. I want to ask from your personal experience. What are some key lessons you have learned in regards to marketing?
Those are very good questions. That's something I'm supposed to know. I think marketing is always changing. I think there's always a change of, I guess, thinking every 5 years. And we are at an age of brand awareness today. So things like podcasts are getting very relevant. A lot of companies are getting into podcasting as a means to create brand awareness of problems that people were not thinking were problems, and then providing solutions within conversations. So that's one thing I think is happening. And then we will talk about, I'm not really a news jack person, but we will not, I will not say, I will not complete this statement. We're not talking about AI and all this other tech stuff that is going on. Marketers love to jump on trends. I don't think it can be helped. Another trend that I think I've learned or I've seen is there is more power to the consumer right now. Before you have to, there's always a salesperson that has to talk to the person consumer to find out stuff. But people in the B2B or B2C space are looking for information online before they even contact the brand at all. They are conducting their own virtual shopping, or even if it's real life shopping, and they are comparing stuff and they are doing all that. That's because I guess overall intelligence has increased, or overall education, if I'll put it that way, has increased. So even in your messaging, you can't just say nonsense. The things you usually will get away with, people can read your lies from far away. Younger people are seeing sustainability, sustainable marketing, social impact marketing as very important these days. And so they want to know if you are for real, if you are walking the talk, or you are just like trying to appease the market, basically. I am in what we call the business, not necessarily business or marketing intelligence or marketing analysis phase. It's part of my skill set, and that's also becoming very important these days. In being able to track the progress of your marketing efforts to unit economics, how that is bringing revenue, how that is saving costs, and if there's a way you can tie that up, even if it's like a long-term measurement. Those are some of the things that marketers are starting to consider a lot these days. But yeah, and just staying true to your brand, basically, having a very strong brand is very, very important nowadays. You have two sets of marketers today. You have the brand marketers and the performance marketers. And I have experiences on both sides. So there are many things about marketing, but I will stop here.
I don't know. Oh, so I guess we'll start with the last statement. What are the brand marketers versus the performance marketers? That just strike my interest. What is the difference and how do you identify that?
Brand marketers conduct marketing activities that are, it's always about talking about the product. It's always about telling stories, storytelling. It's all about talking about the brand. So they'll do every initiative around that. And they are becoming more relevant these days, like I said, unlike what they used to be before. Then performance marketers are, I'm running this campaign to get sales. I'm running these campaigns to get leads. I'm running this campaign to get some sort of concrete value. So these are the high pressure marketers. Incredibly difficult job. A lot of people run away from it because if you don't get the result, they might fire you. Also, it seems. So it's But my own advice is, if you want to become a well-rounded marketer, especially the marketer that can one day become a CMO or even become a CEO, then it's important for you to have both worlds married together. And you also must be able to work with other departments like service, like sales, like IT. So that way, one day you can lead even finance, and so one day you can lead a commercial team, not just a marketing team. And if you are leading commercial team, it's just one leg into is being a CEO. I think we need more marketers to become CEOs in this generation. And I think by having all these things I just mentioned will help you get there. Of course, by the grace of God and all the other things that we've discussed earlier. But yeah, from a knowledge perspective, I think that's the part.
And real quickly, could you explain what is a B2B versus B2C? You know, something you mentioned in regards into marketing. What is the difference? And you could quickly explain that.
Yeah, B2B is business to business, and B2C is business to consumer. So let me start with the B2C. B2C is like you go to the grocery store, you buy whatever, food, whatever it is. There is no much, it's like a self-service thing. There's no much interference. You go in there, you buy your thing. You are using it for a personal reason, right? I go to the store, I go to McDonald's, I'm buying something for my own stomach. So that's B2C. B2B is more of business to business, whereby businesses are selling services to other businesses to help enhance their business operation or whatever. So whole web hosting software, operation software, um, office supplies, even utility bills and stuff like that, and anything around that is what happens with B2B. But there is a trend now of H2H, started by the great Brian Kramer. I had the grace to interview him on my podcast too. And that is, whether it's B2B or B2C, from a marketing communication perspective, you should talk to people human to human. Even at the back of that business is a person that you're talking to. So don't do it as if you're talking to a business, and so you have to do it from a businessy perspective. There's a human element in B2B or B2C, and so it's important to communicate in that way. But yeah, B2C is sometimes called D2C, direct to consumer. There are a million terms in marketing, and people keep bringing in more terms just to confuse us. But B2B, B2C, and H2H.
Thank you for that breakdown. And, being that said, I want to ask, what are some quick lessons you have learned, or some important lessons you have learned from interviewing over 60 different marketers, consultants, people that are top, in this top 1% of this industry?
Yeah, top one. In fact, top 0.0%, if I would say. Yeah, we have a very rigorous but structured process for podcasts. I will write a brief. They approve the brief. It will make sure it will be a brief that they are comfortable talking about, and it's also in alignment with my own podcast theme of brand and performance marketing. And then the interview goes. But yeah, I've learned a whole lot. I've interviewed someone who had worked at MySpace and gave us some experiences back then on how MySpace was. I guess one of our episodes of the episodes of the decade. It's not a decade now. I just started 4 months. Well, episodes, the best, one of the best episodes, I guess, and will be the best episode of all time, is an interview with Howard Tieski. He's a digital transformation influencer, one of the top 10 in the world. And he gave us an incredible story on how they developed a digital transformation strategy for Blockbuster, and Blockbuster did not go with it. And Netflix, got their own consultants. I guess they accepted the digital transformation, and the rest, as they say, is history. That was an incredible story. I was having goosebumps having him listen to that.
Very well said. And I want to ask, what are some resources that people that are interested in becoming better marketers, or just for a person who may want to be interested, who wants to learn more about marketing? What are some resources available to people to get more information on marketing?
Well, there may be a bit of a shameless plug here. To God be the glory. But please follow the Marketing Leadership Podcast. That is my own podcast. It's a well done podcast. We leave no stone unturned. Subscribe to that on Apple, on YouTube, on Spotify. It's Marketing Leadership with dots Oyebolu. And there are many other resources out there, on LinkedIn, on on social media, on Twitter. Just Google search. I guess you start with what your problem is, what you're trying to achieve as a solution. And when you search on Google, you might find something there. Google themselves have a lot of great resources. They have what we call Google Skill Shop, where you can search for certifications and get certified, and even use that to apply for a job if you want to. So those ones are great as well. But first of all, please subscribe to the Marketing Leadership Podcast.
Not a problem. As we wrap up right now, where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years as a marketer in this space? Where do you see yourself?
That's a good question. I think I still see myself in the fractional marketing space, graduating to what we call the fractional CMO. I don't consider myself a fractional CMO yet until maybe after 15 years, which is still very early. Some people will need to wait 20 years to become fractional CMOs. But while still doing the bro brand thing with Dots Loves Marketing, I create articles, I have podcasts. Right now, we have at least almost 2 years of content backlog for the podcast, which is great. And yeah, just seeing how that goes, I would say till the end of the decade, and then see what happens from there. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, I still have other passions in my life. So once I'm done raising kids, I might want to start exploring being a historian. I love history so much, and venturing into music as well. I have a talent called overtone, polyphonic overtone singing, which is the ability to hum two tones, different tones in harmony. I also have what you call overtone whistling, the ability to hum and whistle at the same time. So I have like a platform called Dots Overtones on YouTube and on TikTok. That's primarily what I do on TikTok. Dots Overtones, where you just see me whistle and hum to a song. It's an incredible talent. Not many people in the world can do it.
That is amazing. And just one more question. You just brought it back to my memory. In regards to like the different things that you're interested in, the different things that you're part of. How do you make sure that you're not overwhelming yourself, or you're not, pushing yourself too much to the edge, which can lead to burnout, which we see a lot of people are going through currently in this day and age. So how do you keep that balance for yourself?
At the end of the day, you want to ask God for the grace to help you find where your flow is. So my own flow is I'm a very early person. I start out my work at 5 a.m. because I work from home. I don't have to commute. And between 5 and 8 a.m., I've done a day's worth of job. So that allows me to work for as many parties as I want, or even go above and beyond for the existing parties that I work for. And by 2:30, 3 p.m., I'm done for the day. I help out in the house. I do school drop off and pick up, and things like that. My kids is in vacation right now, so that's by the end of summer they will resume. But you need to find your flow. I think that's what has really worked for me. What time is your flow when you really get into the zone and they are able to do great work? One thing that this will not work for 99% of professionals worldwide. I don't take coffee. I don't take tea. I don't take any of those drinks at all. It's just basic sleep. If you are tired, go to sleep. It's as simple as that for me. And that works for me a lot. I don't try to enhance myself to do stuff that I'm not supposed to. And I guess digital detox is very important. If you are using a very high-tech phone these days, there are things like gray mode and things like that. You can shut off all your notification. Don't join groups that will not give you value, online groups, so that you don't just waste your time. You want to focus on work for the time you have to work. What I also do, which is not ideal, is sometimes in weekends I get to do a couple of things as well, so that way I spread out my workload. And I guess my last bit is, again, it's not compulsory, but if I were you listening, work for a company that provides unlimited paid time off. That helps a lot. If you're a business owner as well, you want to incorporate that. You'll be shocked at how it helps people actually become more productive, because people think it doesn't help become productive, but it actually helps you to become productive. And you can take a break at any time you want, because you know when you come back, you are refreshed and you are, efficient in what you do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oludotun, for your time, taking time today. For those who are listening, I hope you guys don't see as another guest on the Welcome Prize show, but I hope this inspires you. I hope this encourages you to learn this skill about marketing, how you can be a better marketer, whether you're an entrepreneur, business owner, or even an employee. This is a great skill that you can have and it can make you more valuable in the work. Enjoy this episode, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Stay blessed. And